Welcome to the final chapter of this Adobe Premiere Made Easy tutorial. The goal of these 11 chapters and roughly 3.5 hours was to help you decide within the 14 days free trial period whether you want to commit to a paid subscription of Adobe Premiere. In this limited time, I was unable to cover all the features and options, but you had the chance to finish a project with real-life footage to get a feeling of the challenges and solutions. Please leave a comment if this tutorial helped you with your decision. If this tutorial is well received, I will gladly create more YouTube videos with tips and tricks. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, please mention it in the comment. Exporting a finished sequence is the crucial final step in video production. Otherwise, no one can view your video unless they watch you edit it. The format in which the video is exported is determined by your client's demands or the platform where it will be published. Premiere offers many templates and also allows you to choose custom settings. Additionally, you have the option to outsource the export process to another program, Media Encoder. To export a sequence, it must be selected. The sequence currently active in your timeline is automatically selected. There are 3 options to switch to the export mode: File, Export, Media, the Export tab on the left corner of the program window, or the shortcut Ctrl-M or Command-M on a Mac. The quick export icon on the top right corner of the program window is another way to export, which I will cover at the end of this tutorial. Let's hit Ctrl-M, and here in the export mode you have many settings to choose from. The majority of the screen is occupied by the preview window. Here you can watch the video and determine which part of the sequence should be exported. Entire source. What that means is obvious. Then source in-out. To set the in and out points, you can use the icons in the program monitor or simply press I or O on your keyboard at the desired spots in the timeline. Work area. You can show or hide the work area by using this hamburger menu with 3 lines. We haven't used this in our tutorial. Custom. If you decide to set in and out points in the preview window, the range will be automatically switched to custom. Additionally, you can see a summary of the source data and output settings here, followed by the estimated size of the finished video depending on the selected settings. So now first we need to define the destination. By default, media file is selected, which means creating a file on your computer. You can instead or additionally upload the video and have 7 presets to choose from. However, I will only focus on creating files here. I use the plural because we can simultaneously initiate the creation of multiple videos in different formats, which are then exported one after the other. Next, you can assign a name to your video. The field is pre-filled with the sequence name, but it can be overwritten. Then we set the desired location. In our case, it's 08 output. Now you can choose from various presets, and especially if you are new to editing, I recommend doing so. It saves you from making many decisions. However, maybe your client has specifications that aren't covered by a preset. In that case, you can specify the settings here and save them as a new preset. Perhaps your client even provides you with a preset. You can import and use it here. If you don't want or can't use a preset, the first thing you need to do is choose a format. There are 32 options available. Not all of them are video formats. For example, if you choose waveform audio, you can only export the audio. The most common format on the internet is H.264. If you choose QuickTime from Apple or DNxHR from Avid instead, you must now select the video codec. I select a slightly modified version of YouTube 2160p 4K Ultra HD as a preset, which I saved as custom preset with my initials. Video, you can decide yes or no. Maybe you only want to export the audio while still using a video format, though this would be unusual. In basic video settings, match source is the default if the sequence settings match the preset. If this is not the case, the preset dominates. Clicking on match source will reset the the preset to custom. The settings you can define under More vary depending on the format chosen. With 32 possible formats, it would be overwhelming to go into all of them. If you have specific questions, please ask them in the comments. If your video has no audio, you would deselect it here, so that Premiere doesn't create an empty audio track. As for audio, I always use the defaults. I don't understand what multiplexer does, so I always leave it untouched. Captions won't be offered to you because we didn't create subtitles in the tutorial. To show you the possible settings, I've created subtitles for the last part where we speak English. If subtitles are present, you can choose whether they should be embedded in the video or exported as a separate file. I always create captions in English and German for my tutorial, so none of them can be burned in. Otherwise, the viewer couldn't switch between the languages. I will cover the best way to do this in a separate tutorial. We are offered 9 effects. The first 3 apply color adjustments. I never use this as I want to export the color as I've graded them in my sequence. I can't think of a good reason why someone would do this. If you know of a good reason, please share it in the comments. With image overlay, you can insert and position a graphic as a watermark. There are 9 position settings to choose from, and you can fine-tune the X and Y coordinates. You can also adjust the size and the opacity here. Instead of an image, you can also overlay text on the video. You can use the source name, meaning the sequence name, or the output file name as a text. Additionally, you can enter a prefix and suffix, and if desired, display only these. This is useful if you want to give your client a video for review that cannot be published until your invoice is paid. The positioning works the same as with image overlay. The timecode overlay is especially useful if you want feedback on your video. Comments can then refer to a clearly defined area. Generally, you want to use the source timecode. However, you can also shift it by a certain number of frames or create different timecode. The purpose of these options hasn't become clear to me yet. If you know of any good reason for using another timecode than the source, please share it in the comments. Positioning, size, and opacity work like the text overlay. With Time Tuner, you can adjust the length of the output. You can either specify the target length and Premiere will calculate the deviation in percentage, or you can specify the desired percentage deviation and Premiere will calculate the new length. How Premiere technically implements this, I don't know. I have never used this function in practice. What I do like to use are the next 2 settings. They are intended to prevent brightness levels and audio levels from clipping. Therefore, they are already selected in the preset I'm using. I will skip metadata. It's a subject in itself and others know better than I do. General is interesting again. Import into project can be useful if you want to integrate a rendered sequence into another sequence. However, since we can nest sequences, I've never had the need to use this function. Use previews makes sense if the previews are in the same format as the planned output. Rendering such previews takes longer and consumes more space, but it saves time during export as Premiere can use the previews without having to re-render these sections. The same applies for proxies. However, I will create a separate tutorial on proxies, so I won't go into it further now. Now we can click Export and wait for Premiere to finish, and then we'll have our completed video. How long this takes depends on your computer speed, but it always seems to take too long. And during this time, Premiere is blocked. Therefore, we do not click on Export, but instead on Send to Media Encoder, and a new program will start. The Media Encoder can do much more than export your Premiere sequences. but I will only discuss the specific advantages in connection with Premiere Pro here. First and foremost, Premiere is not blocked during the export progress, and if computer is powerful enough, you can continue working with Premiere during this time. Second, you can queue up as many export jobs as you like and start the export only when you finish your work, and even choose to have the computer shut down after the export is completed. To start, just click the green arrow and select Auto Computer Shutdown and go home. Now let's go back to the Quick Export function. It gives you less options and blocks Premiere while exporting. Two good reasons not to use it. I don't even use the export mode and go straight to Media Encoder by choosing File, Export, Send to Adobe Media Encoder, or using the shortcut Alt-Shift-M. The Media Encoder is pretty intuitive to use, but I will create a special tutorial for it later. If you decide to continue working with Premiere and this tutorial helped you with your decision, I would appreciate a thumbs up. I would even be happy if you subscribe to my channel and recommend my videos. I wish you all happy creating with Premiere Pro. Bye bye.